Building your own grow stand for your plants is one of the easiest ways to save money gardening. If you've ever looked at buying one, they can be anywhere from $500 and up. It just depends on how big they are and exactly what they have. So today I'm going to show you how you can build one for a fraction of the cost. Militia, thanks for joining me on Thriving Plants. The grow stand that I built has 5 shelves on it and different types of lights. I bought my shelf for about $50 on clearance, and different types of lights, I also bought those on clearance. My grow mats, I actually did spend about $20 a piece on those, and I have 2. My trays are actually trays that I bought that are made for shoes, and I paid about $2 on clearance for these as well. So I'm going to kind of do some close-ups and show you exactly how I built this. The lights that are up here are just regular LED lights. They're not grow lights or anything like that. I bought them for $25 on clearance. I found them in a store on like a bottom shelf, kind of shoved into the bag. So I brought them home to try them out, and they were great. There are 5 of them, and whenever my plants get to the point that they are about 6 to 8 inches tall, I will move them up here because I can't adjust these lights at all. But once they reach that point, they're able to be a little bit further away from the light. Since they're larger, they have more leaf surface area. They're still receiving that intensity that they need from the light. But from here down, these are exactly the same except for this light. And I actually got 4 of these. This is a fluorescent light, and I was able to get 4 of these on sale for about $60. So it wasn't too bad for 4 of them because I didn't buy these especially for this. I bought them for my aquariums because I have live plants in my aquariums, and I did the same thing with those. I pieced it together rather than buying a set because it's cheaper. But I do move 2 of these in here when I'm growing my seedlings because they are broader. So I'm not dealing with this skinny little light. So the light spreads out more, and it's able to get more of the surface area on this. And I have some celery that's already coming up in here that I planted about the middle of January. The dome that was on here, I went ahead and took that off. To be able to raise and lower these, I bought 4 feet of chain for about $6, and I just use a pair of needle nose pliers to pull these apart, and that way I can make them the length that I needed. And that was plenty of feet to be able to do this entire thing. And then I bought 100 of these little S-hooks to be able to insert them like that. And then I can lift this up and hook it at the distance I need it to be from my plants. So it's super easy to do. And 100 of those were about $4. So definitely not too bad of a price to be able to do this entire shelf, which has lights hanging from this shelf and the one below it and then the one below that. With these lights, I actually was able to get 2 sets of 8 lights, and they are red spectrum, which red spectrum is supposed to help your plants to grow a little bit better. I've found that you can use any kind of lighting. It really doesn't matter that much. They seem to grow just fine under pretty much any type of lighting. And I have started 2 tomato plants in here. One is a Rutgers and one is a Marglobe, because I want them to grow indoors and be able to collect the seeds from these so I can sell them at my store, Thriving Plants. I was able to buy these trays. They're actually trays for putting your shoes in when you bring them from outside, but I found them for $2 a piece. So I have like 5 of these, and they're great because they catch all the water in these little grooves, and then they also can be used to repot plants, which is what I do. And then, so I'm not losing any of my soil. Once everything falls on here, when I'm done repotting, I can just take this and I can dump my soil back into my containers. I'm not losing any soil because soil is definitely expensive. I do have a video on my channel that will show you how to make your own seed starting mix if you would be interested in that as well. The link is above. Something else that I really like about these lights is that they all have the exact same type of cords. So this set and this set, even though they're completely different sets, use the same type of cords with the same type of plugs. So I could run these sets together, and so this entire thing is controlled by just one cord with one switch. So I can turn it off and on very easily. And then each one of these also has their own switch to turn them off and on. So I can control which ones I want on. If I want this one on but not that one, I just have to turn it off. But then I could still turn on this one behind here, even though this one isn't on. So this is a really nice thing about these as well. And even these large fluorescent ones have an outlet on the side so that you can plug those into one another as well. And then each one of them has a separate button so that you can also turn on the ones that you want. Now we're in my basement, and you might be wondering why. Well, it's because I grow my brassicas in my basement, because it stays at temperatures between 60 and 65 degrees. And those are the perfect temperatures for growing brassicas, which are plants like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. Something to know about those plants is that they don't need light to germinate. You don't need to worry about having them under grow lights or in the sunlight until you see them sprout. Then you're going to want to get them into the light. They also don't require a heat mat. They do just fine germinating at the 60 to 65 degree temperatures because they are a cool season vegetable. If you prefer to use heat mats to help increase germination rate, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that your mats aren't too hot, because that is going to stress your plant. I haven't hung my lights yet. I'm going to in a few days. I won't be starting my seeds for these for probably about 6 more weeks. So I'm not in too big of a hurry to do that. But they are going to have the chains so I can raise and lower them, because you do need to keep your lights 2 to 3 inches away from your seedlings to make sure they're getting enough light intensity to grow properly. If you have your lights too far away from your plants, they're going to start stretching, and that makes your plants weak. And the majority of the plants that do that, you can't save. So definitely keep an eye on how far away your lights are. Something else that's nice to have, but you do not need it, is a timer that will turn your lights off and on. Now you can see how much you really do save if you build one of these yourself. And I think it was worth the savings to put the extra effort into piecing this together and doing it myself. Because when I looked into buying something this size, it was at least $1,000. And I wasn't about to pay that when I knew I could do it for a fraction of the cost if I did it on my own. The only expense that I don't include with this is the timer that I bought. And I am glad that I bought it, because it does make it a lot easier to be sure that my plants are getting the 16 hours of light that they need. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.